All right, boys, welcome back. Week 11, the Fantasy Blueprint limping in after a crappy showing for Week 10. But it is what it is, boys. How's the week outside of fantasy football?
They can't all be winners, you know. You're gonna have some down weeks. It's just part of fantasy. You gotta.
Part of it.
It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit. Keep moving forward. Rocky
But we got
Balboa.
hit. We got hit last week, boys. You want to hear a stat for us? Of our core four, we had one individual hit their projection.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, the silence is all you needed to hear because it was a crappy week. We can do a studs and duds segment like we typically do. There's not a lot to talk about.
I've been got
studs.
before. It was all good. I'm not worried about it.
What's the Marshawn Lynch
Champions are built on these weeks that you. It's all about how you respond from bad weeks.
Yeah,
These are how
exactly.
champions respond. Is how we're going to respond this week with more preparation, more focus, and better attitudes. Roll Tide sounds like Nick Saban. Let's do it.
The words of Marshawn Lynch, I'm gonna get got, but I'm gonna get mine more than I get got though.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's right. And that's what we're going to do week 11, baby. We're going to strap up and get ready to roll. Here we go.
That's right.
I'm going to blow past studs and duds because literally we had one player hit the projection and it was.
Yeah, if you want to see that, go to the TikTok channel.
Yeah.
You can find a recap there.
Because Justin Herbert was the only one that went projection or above. So we're going to move on. Week 11, new start, fresh start. Here we go.
Turning the page figuratively.
And literally.
Put it in with your background. Put it in with your nice new apartment you got back there.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know what that was. This is definitely my apartment. This is definitely where I live.
Well, let's jump into it. Week 11. We got some decent matchups here. I'm watching the Thursday night game, loving every minute of it. This is a huge game, Washington versus the Eagles, but there's a lot to talk about for the Sunday slate. Values for Week 11. We'll start in the quarterbacks, what we typically do. Cole, I'm going to throw it to you first. Value for quarterbacks, Week 11. What you got?
All right, man. I'm starting it off. I'm going back to the well. He was one of my duds last week. He was one of my duds.
Don't do it.
I don't believe it's going to happen again. I fully have faith in him. Ron Rodgers, baby, at 5,500 against Indianapolis. He's averaging 15 points. He's averaging 15 points a game. Indianapolis is not very good defensively. So let's get it on. My next one is going to be Geno Smith at 5,700.
Oh, boy. Against 49ers. All right.
He's playing against 49ers, but he's coming off a bye. So what I'm expecting is they're going to get down possibly early. Geno's going to be healthy on his arm. He's going to be slinging it around. And hopefully we'll get some good news out of that. But that's kind of my risky play. Those are my two QBs that I'm looking at.
Low ownership on Geno, probably. So
yeah,
that's always good.
For sure. Yep. What was his salary at?
5,700. So 200 more than Aaron Rodgers.
Just an example of how low ownership can kind of carry you. Last week, I'll toot my own horn a little bit here. I did start Marquez Valdez-Scantling in a few lineups for the Saints.
You did.
And he had 28 points. And he was owned in 0.046% of leagues.
Wow.
So he basically those points, if you could pick somebody who's not owned in a lot of leagues, you could almost, how season long works, distribute those points across your team if you have somebody that struggles, because nobody's going to have that 28-point producer at that salary point. So it's almost like you get a leg up there. So that being said, if nobody starts Geno really this week, if he's around 1 to 3% owned and he gets 30 points, it can really separate you. Pause. I have a couple different ones, Cole. I like those though. I like Aaron Rodgers. I don't necessarily like Geno, but like the San Francisco defense has been okay. It's one of the better defenses, but it's not a juggernaut. I would say that it's been got this year a few times.
Yeah,
I'd say that they haven't been invincible. So I'm going to the sensational rookie Drake May, 5,600 against the Rams. I think the Rams defense is very gettable, and then I just he's kind of been mid since he came back, but Tua at 6,000 with the weapons he has against the Raiders, I just think at 6,000 he could have one of those 4 touchdown games, get some big plays to Tyreek, and then also in that game, kind of exposing my hand here. I like Matthew Stafford 5,800 against the Patriots, so you can tell I like that Rams and New England game to kind of build players around. A lot of points, bad defenses. I like those.
I like it. So mine, I've got a couple. I think we talked about this in our group text. Which, by the way, our group text, we gotta talk about this for a second before we jump back into values here. If anybody was to jump into our group text message, you would think that the world is ending, and then all of a sudden we struck gold, and then all of a sudden we're back in like the depths because the back and forth is incredible. I literally put my phone down, no joke, for like 15 minutes, and I had like 45 text messages between you guys complaining, crying, celebrating, all the above in that text message of 15 minutes. I love my favorite thing in the group message is it's no joke. I think if I look back at the receipts, Cole Wagner, 12:05, time to take a nap. He made it 5 minutes. He made it 5 minutes into the slate before he said, "It's over. I'm going to bed, taking a nap." The what do you call it? Your Sunday tradition? Or,
Sunday traditions. It's nap time. If you're taking a nap before 1 p.m., it's not a good Sunday. That's my tradition. That's my motto. That's what
No
it's
doubt.
been for so far in the last 5-6 weeks, unfortunately. But
You rookies, man. You rookies in the game. I'm a seasoned vet. Stuff gets out of hand early. I don't panic. I just wait for that second half light show to happen, baby, and fireworks. Second half is what carries you.
Would you like me to read some of those text messages and take that statement?
No, I'm good.
Gabe?
We can move on.
no, that's all right.
I was about to say. Well, anyways, jumping back to values here, I just had to bring up that group message because it is hilarious. Like, my wife asked me, like, "Why are you laughing?" I'm like, "Because these dudes have crapped their pants in the first 10 minutes of this afternoon slate." It's hilarious. But anyways, values for quarterback wise, we talked about it in our group message a little bit. AR, I'm kind of with you, Gabe. You said he's going to be unleashed. He's not going to have any restraints. They're just going for him for the year. He may throw 6 picks, but he also may rush for 3 touchdowns. You just never know what you're going to get with AR.
I think he's tried to do too much. I think he's tried to he's tried to be something that he's not, and it hasn't worked. And I just can't see the Colts staff being like, "Hey, man, just keep doing what you're doing because it ain't working." I just can't see that happening. They're gonna have to be like, "Hey, man, do what you're comfortable with, and we'll build around that." Like they have Lamar. Like just go out there and be you.
And Lamar's developed into a guy that can go and pass and make plays now. Like AR, you just got to start small and work your way through it. But he's at 5,300, so I think there's some value there just because of his rushing ability. Now, he may go 10 for 30 in the air, but his rushing ability kind of allows that 5,300 to be tempting. I'm not saying that I'm going that route. I'm just saying if you're looking for a cheap quarterback, there you go. But actually, the 2 guys I have circled this week are Brock Purdy at 6,600. Seattle's defense has got kind of, y'all talked about a little bit earlier. And Brock Purdy the last 4 weeks has had 24, 20, 26, 26. So he's kind of rolling right now, playing pretty good, at least from a fantasy perspective. So I kind of like him at 6,600. You could probably find one of his receivers to stack with him. And then I'm going against the grain here a little bit. There's no way that this man throws 5 picks again. I'm going Jared Goff at 6,300. He's going against Jacksonville, who's one of the worst defenses in the league. We talked about this last week a little bit, though. That's why we picked Sam Darnold at 6,200 last week because Jacksonville's defense is trash. And what does he do? Throws 3 picks. So I don't see Jared Goff doing that again. So at 6,200, I'm kind of – you talked about low ownership. That may be a low ownership coming off a 5-interception week. So at 6,200, he may be a good play for this week.
I think some of your low ownership might come from the fact that he needs about 18 points to pay out. Really bad defense, really, really good run game with Montgomery and Gibbs. So you may have some people staying away from Goff thinking that they might just, rush for 350 yards. And they may get to the end zone and he may throw 4 touchdowns instead of, giving it to Montgomery. So, yeah, I don't hate it.
It's a it's against the grain a little bit, but we'll keep on rolling here. We talked about quarterback values that we see out there. What about receivers? Is there anybody you have circled? Gabe, we'll start with you this time. What do you have receiver-wise?
Keyshawn Butte for the
3,500.
Patriots. 3,500, stacking with Drake May. He's playing the second most snaps there behind Mario Douglas. I like him too this week at 4,700.
Yeah,
Mario
he's
Douglas
cheap
is really cheap along with Butte. If that game is high scoring, it might not be a bad idea to start Douglas and Butte. I've done that with the Panthers. I started Leggett and Coker and Ryung in one week, and that was like one of the only teams I won money in. And I think it might be because nobody was that stupid to start all three of those guys at the same time. And then I'll go to my favorite play of the week, and that's if this guy has 0 fans, it's because I'm dead. DeAndre Hopkins, 5,700. I'll play with Patrick Mahomes. I'll start him until the day I die. I don't care if maybe if he gets too expensive, but at this price, I'll start him until I turn blue in the face.
Yep.
2 other ones. Keep it quick. Debo Samuel, 6,800. No Ayuk. He hasn't had that game where he's blown up for 30 points, where you get that rushing and receiving touchdown value. McCaffrey's back. That offense should be a little bit more lethal if he's actually healthy like he showed last week. I think he is. So Debo's still pretty cheap. I think he's undervalued right now. And then Puka Nacua. He's the number 1 for the Rams at 7,300. 14 targets last week. And I think he had like 12 the week before that. The game actually before that, he got ejected. He had 4 targets before he got ejected. Yeah. So he's just getting all the work there, man. Cooper Kupp's still Cooper Kupp, but for some reason, Puka's the only one getting going for 100 plus in that offense. So
I like it. Cole, what you got?
Yeah, just to piggyback off what Gabe said, Puka Nacua, I kind of feel like the attention is so much on Cooper Kupp that Puka kind of gets left out there. And once that attention changes, then Cooper Kupp starts getting his looks. Yeah. So that's just something that I've kind of noticed. My 2 receivers, though, I went with Calvin Ridley at 6,200. I'm gonna stick with him. I feel like he's turned it on. I feel like he's turned it around. I feel like they're gonna get down early in this game that they're playing in again, and he is wide receiver 1. I feel like Will Levis has kind of picked it up a little bit passing wise. My second play is Jerry Jeudy at 5,400.
Love it.
He started to turn it around. The Saints are injured at the cornerback position, and it is a Jameis Winston revenge game. So maybe we'll see Mr. Krabs, see if he wants to turn it around and start throwing that thing around, see if he can make his old team pay. But Jerry Jeudy's had 25 targets over the last 3 games. Yep. So he's getting looks. And so quick question for while we're talking about receivers. See if I can pull this up real quick here.
I'm scared.
Oh, that's nothing, man. Can y'all see that?
Yep. Yes.
All right. So Shane Waldron got fired from the Bears. So what I'm thinking is, if y'all haven't seen yet, DJ Moore has been talking a lot of crazy stuff on social media. A lot.
All we see is a black screen. Is this supposed to be something else?
So no. DJ Moore has been talking a lot of crap on social media about how they haven't made any adjustments until halftime. So keep an eye out for those Bears offensive players just to see if they improve with this new offensive coordinator that's coming in.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna say they won't because I don't trust Caleb Williams at all.
Yeah, it just depends on how you view Caleb Williams. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Gabe, because if he's I don't know, if he plays, I think he's got the abilities. I just don't think it's clicked for him yet. Whereas you look at Jaden Daniels is clicked, and he's got a great offensive coordinator. He's got decent weapons around him. And Caleb Williams got decent weapons. He just for whatever reason, hadn't clicked yet.
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to call it early. I think he's a bust. I look at Drake May in New England, and that dude has an absolute dumpster fire of a roster he has to try to navigate, and he's looked fantastic. Yeah. Jay Daniels has made those Commander players look really good. I mean, he's playing with a washed-up tight end. McLaurin been a good receiver, but I'm out on Caleb Williams. To be honest with you, I've been out on him ever since he got drafted. think it was a total overhyped show. I won't go too deep onto this rabbit hole, but I'm out on Caleb Williams and always have been.
Just a quick out. Rookie year. All right.
He'll have his games. I mean, if they get down early, he'll throw for 300. If you look at his games, he's thrown for 300. It ain't been because they've been kicking a team's butt. It's been because they've been getting smacked. So
that's fair. That's fair. I don't even know whose turn is it. I can't even remember.
It's your turn.
It's your turn for receivers.
We went down a rabbit hole and I got lost for a second. Cole, I'm kind of with you though on Jerry Jeudy. I was kind of looking at his last 2 games. He's had 8 targets and 11 targets his last 2 games, 12 catches, and he's had 79 and 73 yards. I think he's finally starting. After you heard him blow up earlier in the season, it's starting to come to fruition. He's starting to get those targets. He's starting to get rolling at 5,400. You kind of take a stab at him, see what happens because he's rolling right now. Outside of that, I've got George Pickens at 7,000. So the reason being George Pickens, the 4 games, I guess I can't remember if it's 3. I think it's 3 games with Russell Wilson. He had a touchdown the first game. He had 2 touchdowns called back in the second game. He had a touchdown last week. So it's very clear that Pickens is the man. His target share is up. I like Pickens at 7,000. I still think Pickens can disappear at times, but I'm curious to see if he can continue with Russell Wilson because in his career he's had times of disappearance. So 7,000, I really liked him. Gabe, I think you can go back to the well with Marquez Valdez-Scantling at 4,400. They got no receivers, and Derek Carr loves to throw it deep. I mean, he's the only one they've got really, and he's a deep threat. Always has been in his career. It's just a matter of if he can haul it in. So at 4,400, I'm okay with going back to the well there. I think that he's still a good play.
I'll say if there's anybody that gained any trust and is on an upswing, it'd be MVS for the game he just had. I think he led the team in catches and receiving yards. So
he had 28 fantasy points.
Yeah, he could definitely be dominant this week if they give him more looks, which I imagine they will because he's the only receiver on the roster that has any NFL experience besides Cedric Wilson, who's trash.
100%. And even if he comes back down to earth and he has 12 points at 4,400, it's still really good value there. So I had him listed kind of piggybacking off his good week last week and kind of what you talked about. I do think that his share will go up this week in ownership. So he may not be the play, but I do think there's value there at 4,400.
See, I don't know if it will, man, with just how bad the Saints receiving core is. Like I feel like he may have flown under the radar a little bit last week. Nobody started him in season long, I'm sure. Nobody really started him in daily fantasy. If anybody, unless somebody was checking the top scorers or who was for that week. I mean, I don't think he didn't have such a good game that everybody's running to go pick him up and start him this week. So
that's fair. All right, so let's move on to running backs here. I don't know that I was really scratching my head on this one. I'll start us here, but I've got Kareem Hunt. I've gone to him a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, but he's at 6,700, still cracking that 7,000 threshold, but he's their number one. He's getting tons of carries, and he's going against a Buffalo defense that's 31st to running backs, allowing 29.1 points per game in fantasy to running backs. So I think Kareem Hunt has a lot of value this week at a price under 7,000. So definitely one you can roll with. I was going to say Jaylen Warren, but it looks like Najee Harris is a full participant in practice this week. So I'm out on Warren. I still think he might get some carries, but at 5,300, not being the first string running back, I'm kind of out there. This is the one. This is my dark horse. I'm throwing it out there. Audric Estime for the Denver Broncos at 4,000. He's at 4,500. So the reason, if you look at his carries, and again, I'm not 100% sure if Javonte Williams was healthy last week, but he had 14 carries. Javonte Williams had 1.
Yeah, I think he was fully healthy.
And then if you look at
that sounds like a normal stat line for Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I think he was.
That's true.
Was normal.
But they still have him listed in fantasy on daily fantasy for 5,700. So it's interesting. Like it's just interesting that he would still be that high after getting 1 carry the week prior. So the reason I like the Audric Estime play, 14 carries. That was the most by 11 carries of any other running back on the Denver Broncos running back list last week. And if you looked at what Sean Payton said after the game, he said, I wrote it down actually, I think. he'll continue to get more reps. He'll continue to get better. So I think they're going to continue to ride him a little bit. It's a risk. It's a gamble. But I think at 4,500, there's some value. Did I say something that made y'all pause and laugh?
I think they're going to continue to ride him.
Yeah. Well, I'm bound to slip up at some point in the podcast. So that was my one. But that's kind of where I see value at running back this week. What do you guys have? Gabe, we'll kind of lean on you here.
I like Ramondre Stevenson, 6,100. He's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. He's having a really good fantasy season for the Patriots, and he's kind of been revitalized with Drake May coming in at quarterback. So I like Stevenson a lot at that spot. He'll be hard pressed not to have him in my core four. Tank Bigsby hadn't practiced, so ETN 6,300. His only other, I guess, competitor for carries will be Dearness Johnson. I think is who the backup is there. Or is it Jermichael Hasty?
No, it's Hasty.
Is it Hasty? Yeah. I like ETN in that spot over Hasty if they have to go back to a workhorse. And then I think the training wheels are coming off for Nick Chubb this week against the Saints at 6,000. They've said repeatedly that they're going to keep, working them in. Pause. And I think this might be the week that he finally gets those wheels taken off, gets 20, 30 carries, scores a couple touchdowns against that vaunted Swiss cheese Saints defense.
Swiss cheese. Cole, what you got for us?
Yeah, I'm going with both of the two guys that you guys picked. Kareem Hunt, 6,700. I'm just going to call it Mahomes magic because if you think about it, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was phenomenal when he was around, but Pacheco's been phenomenal when he's healthy, and then now Kareem Hunt is great. So I think Patrick Mahomes is just making these guys great with his knowledge and his ability to check down the running backs, things like that. That he's a big reason why these running backs are so successful at Kansas City.
I'm gonna stop you there. Patrick Mahomes this year has been terrible. I think it's Andy Reid. I'm giving Andy Reid the credit. I think it's Andy. I think it's Andy Reid that schemes these guys and gets them. Yeah, it's Andy. I think. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, if this was 3 years ago, Patrick Mahomes throwing for 300, 400, and that box is light, then sure. But he is not beating teams by himself. A good offensive line definitely helps, but I think Andy Reid's scheme is so hard to stop Patrick Mahomes. It's even harder to stop him when he has a good running back.
Yeah. And then my second guy is Ramondre Stevenson. That's a mouthful. Calls. So he's had 50 carries over 3 games, 20, 10, and 20 over his last 3 games. Those are his carry numbers. Just a guy that they're always going to depend on. He's going to be the head guy, the lead back, most of the time. He's going to get most of the looks. So I feel like he's a good play, and he's kind of floating under the radar with 3 straight good games. Now, with that being said, I took a chance on Najee Harris last week with 3 straight good games, and he decided he wanted to have his bad game on the 4th week that I picked him.
Same here, brother.
So take that with a grain of salt, but keep an eye on Ramondre Stevenson.
Yep. Dude, and that's, this is the thing that kills me in daily fantasy, dude. I can spend an hour looking at one player against a specific defense. Like, for example, Sam Darnold last week. I know I'm hitting this well again, but at 6,200 against Jacksonville, who's been terrible. And Darnold's been awesome this year. He turns the ball over a little bit too much for me, but Jacksonville has let up a ungodly amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks. And he decides that he's going to go into Jacksonville and throw 3 interceptions, no touchdowns against the Jacksonville. That's why this crap is yes, do your work, do your homework. But at the end of the day, you're throwing darts at a wall and hoping they stick because this is ridiculous. I did this last week. I've spent so much time looking over defensive matchups and stuff, what they score against quarterbacks, what other defenses let up against receivers. I did the same thing this week, and I'm sure it's going to come back to bite me in the tail. But it's you just got to get lucky. So anyone that's listening, if you got a gut feel, play the gut feel. Because the reality is you can look at these defenses, you can scheme it, you can think about it, you can make a smart play, but don't you worry. Vegas is going to make sure that every single one of us gets got. Okay, I'm done. I was just
Look at that player. Look at his picture staring right back at you on the app. Look him in the eyes and ask yourself, is this a face I could trust? And when you click
the
the
eyes
plus
tell
on,
it all. You can tell from the eyes of a man whether he's a truthful person or a dishonest person.
When you click the plus on Sam, hold on.
Let me
When
go
you
ahead
click
and
the
tell you
plus,
and let me tell you something. If you're looking in the eyes of Jordan Addison and think that's a trustworthy man, it's time to start reevaluating how you go about your life. Because you got some snakes in the grass in your friend group or family that you don't know about.
If you look Sam Darnold in the eyes and click that plus, you just better know what you're signing yourself up for.
Hey, that's fair. That is absolutely fair. Sam Darnold might have been a terrible example there, but we'll go back to the Najee Harris example. 3 straight games of 100 yards rushing. The Washington Commanders let up over 100 yards rushing a game. And what does he do? He gets like 2 yards a carry for 50 yards and craps the bed. Thank goodness he had a touchdown. Otherwise, it would have been an absolute F grade on Najee Harris. But anyways, I'm getting off my rant because we need to keep talking about tight ends here for a second. But I just need anyone that's listening, if you got a gut feel, and like Gabe said, you can look at him and feel like you can trust him. Just draft him.
Look him in the eyes and ask yourself, can I trust this person? No means no.
Let's throw logic and studying out of the window now. Let's throw it all out the window. Let's just start looking at these players' eyes and their pictures, and let's go off of straight up eye looks.
That's how you draft.
That's how you draft.
Whose eyes are trustworthy? There you go. Yes. Anyways, Cole, would you give us your value for tight ends this week?
Yeah, tight end. I'm going 2 studs, man. TJ Hockenson and Mark Andrews. And you may ask yourself, what are the thoughts on this? Why would you pick him? They're still stars. That's what I think. Is they're still both stars. And we talked about going with my gut. I need to start going with my gut a little more and stop overthinking things. TJ Hawkinson's one of those guys I feel like is going to continue to get those looks. I feel like as he gets healthier, he's going to continue to get passes. He's going to pop off. He's going to get looks, like I said, with Sam Darnold. And Mark Andrews, he's putting it together slowly too. And I feel like I'd be a fool to not pick one of those 2 guys. So those are my 2 guys that I'm going with, no matter the price, even though they're both still kind of cheap. So that's what I'm going with.
I like it. So for me this week, I think I'm looking at 2 guys specifically. Hawkinson's one of them, coming off a 15-point fantasy game. He had 8 catches for 72 yards, 9 targets. He was a leading receiver target share guy for week 10. So I like Hawkinson in that position at 4,000. What is he at? 4,700, I think, somewhere in there. The second guy I look at is Dawson Knox at 3,500 if Kincaid doesn't play. I think Knox has shown he's been a good receiver before Kincaid got there, but if Kincaid plays, then obviously don't touch Knox. I do think there's value there, though, if Kincaid does not play because he's proven that he can be an NFL tight end, and Josh Allen doesn't mind throwing up some targets. So those are kind of my 2 values for the tight end position this week. Gabe, enlighten us with your picks.
Nah, man, you took that one right out of my mouth. Dawson Knox, 3,500. Chiefs against tight ends, ranked 32nd in the league.
Yep.
Dawson Knox and Josh Allen also really, really like each other. Really good friends. So
like.
Both. I'm not sure, but they definitely share a warm embrace after wins. I'll say that. They like each other. I'll take that. Yes. Cole, you took that one. Hawkinson, I like that a lot. He's kind of getting vultured a little bit by Josh Oliver's some of the downfield targets, but he's still been very productive since he came back. I'm not sure if that's a workload issue or if that's they just like Josh Oliver and they're going to try to get him involved. I'm not really sure. I'm waiting for that game where Hawkinson dominates the tight end targets. Sam Laporta hadn't practiced, so Brock Wright 3,300 for the Lions. It's been a weird season for them. Like I said, they've been so run heavy. They haven't really had to attack teams through the air a lot. So I'm kind of steering away from the Lions passing game this week. Like you said you like Sam Darnold. It would be a contrarian play there, but I kind of just I'm gravitating more towards the running backs in Detroit this week. And then you gotta look at Jonnu Smith at 3,800. He's been productive in the Miami offense. He's one of those tight ends he's not a blocker. He's definitely a receiver. He's got a little speed. He's had some decent weeks. He's not really blowing it out. He's not scoring 15 plus, but he could pop off. And you got to take at a good offense and a good matchup.
Last week he was, I think, like 1 to 2 yards away from a touchdown. So he went from a okay week to he missed a great week by 2 yards. So I like that play as well. I was thinking about including him in the value play for sure. So let's move on. We talked about values a little bit. Let's go core 4 here. Cole, we'll kind of start with you. Core 4 for week 11. What you got for us?
All right, so my core 4, I'm going building this house on bricks and not sticks. That's my motto. So we're going high level guys. Aaron Rodgers is going to be my quarterback. Devon A-Chain, even though I don't think we really touched on him, but that's a guy that I feel like is going to have a good game. And then T.J. Hawkinson, and then Garrett Wilson. I'm going to go with the stack. Rodgers and Wilson. No way they have 2 bad games in a row.
Going back to it. I see.
And there's the kiss of death.
It's possible.
And there's the kiss of death, and it's going to happen now.
You guarantee that.
Take it to the bank.
We didn't talk about A-Chan. What's the reasoning behind the core 4 this week for A-Chan?
I just like his volume with Tua. And the Raiders aren't great on defense. And I feel like his value is there. He's going to catch passes. He's going to get the carries. Mostert is a possible vulture that I'm afraid of.
I'll explain it for you. Every catch is 10 yards rushing for a running back, the way I look at it. Every single catch is 1 point. 1 point rushing is 10 yards. If you get a guy who gets 8 catches at the running back position, that's equivalent to 80 yards rushing. You can't replace that, man. That is something that if you can find that somewhere, you take it, especially if he's going to get 15 carries on top of his pass catching ability. So that's my reasoning, Cole, for starting A-Chan.
I think that's a great strategy.
That is a great tip for people that don't understand. That's why Kareem Hunt's so good. It's why all those people that catch passes, Joe Mixon, those guys are always, booming in fantasy. So
that's why I lean towards a 3 running back lineup, because if I can find a guy that's going to catch passes and get rushing volume as a dual threat. You're not going to get a receiver that's going to get 15 carries in the run game, but you can get a running back that can get you 6 targets while also getting 20 carries. I just love it.
And I think that's a really good. We never really hit on Derrick Henry. Obviously, his values, like his salary, is always 7,700 and above every week, but he never catches passes, especially in the Baltimore offense. So that's why I've always kind of stayed away from him. He's been awesome this year. But he's one of those things where it's like, man, if somebody can figure out a way to slow him down, which isn't often, but if it does, he's not catching the ball either. So it's a tough. Yeah. That's where I get worried.
Titans. So I was at the Titans last year. 25.
What's happened?
5 points.
He's been slowed down several times, and I've had him in lineup. So I just get absolutely just shafted by the Derrick Henry pick.
Yeah, so I do like that strategy talk for a second, because I do think it leads I understand Derrick Henry is this big, kind of mythical running back, if you will, but he just, the receiving's not there, so I always get nervous about playing him at such a high salary. So
against a good defense, he's almost impossible to trust at that price. I see they're playing Pittsburgh this week, I think, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yep. No, I think that's a really good talk too. I've never really thought about that strategy from a standpoint of, I think about it, but when you break it down, 8 catches is 80 yards or 5 catches is 50 yards, that's a really good way to think about it. So if anybody's out there kind of looking at running backs, factor that in as well, because it's a really good way to view it, if that makes sense. So we kind of went on a little tangent here, Gabe, but we'll as you're talking through strategy, go ahead and give us your core 4 for week 11.
Yeah. Keyshawn Boutte, 3,500. I'm I'm going with that. Dude, shaking your head, no. Okay, guy, he's solid. DeAndre Hopkins, 5,700. Depending on the Bigsby news, I got ETN at 6,300. If Bigsby plays, I'll change that to Ramondre Stevenson. And then same with Kincaid. Kincaid doesn't play. I'm going Dawson Knox, 3,500. I'm building my house on diamonds, as Cole says. He's building on diamonds in the rough. I'm not putting my core four around some super expensive players. I'm building getting some diamonds in the rough to build around, and then I'm going to stack them around with bricks. I'm going to find the treasure, and then I'm going to, expand upon that treasure after I find it.
You're going to protect the treasure with a house of bricks, baby. I love it.
Love it. I support.
It's a good thing we're not talking about basketball, because if we were talking basketball, house of bricks is a bad thing. So, my core four for this week, we didn't talk about him at all. I was kind of saving him for my core four because I just want to unleash him and surprise you guys. Cortland Sutton, core four. Sign it up. 5,900 points. Here's his fantasy points for the last 3 weeks. 21.1, 26.3, and 19. He's been a stud. I mean, he's kind of flown under the radar, but I really like him at 5,900 against Atlanta, who's 25th to receivers. They're letting up 35.8 fantasy points per game to receivers. So give me Cortland Sutton in my core four. Kareem Hunt, we talked about a little bit at 6,700 versus Buffalo. Dawson Knox is going to be in my core four if Kincaid does not play. And then the other one that I'm toying with is going to be Audric Estime or George Pickens. I feel like we talked about the strategy a little bit. I feel like the Audric Estime is going to be a low ownership for this week. He's not at 4,500 is not crazy. Now he could absolutely get 5 carries for 5 yards, but he's also the volume's increasing. So I kind of like the direction that he's heading. Yeah. So
that's my core four for this week. Can you trust it?
I trust Sean Payton.
There you go.
That's Snake. I don't trust Sean Payton.
I trust Sean Payton offensively.
So. Trust him as far as I could throw him.
That's because y'all are Saints guys. Gabe was a Saints guy.
What's next? No touchies?
No, we'll do. We can do no touchies, or we can do lineups. Which direction I want to go?
Let's do no touchy, then go to line. Switch it up a little bit. Let's flip the script.
Sometimes it's good to bring the mojo. Let's change it a little. Let's change it. Let's bring some good luck to us. No touchy. Yeah. Week 11. Gabriel, what you got?
All right, no touchy. I'm gonna try to keep it brief so we can stay below 45 minutes here for the people. I'm going no touchy on the Atlanta players this week against the Denver defense. I'm out on that. And also, I don't like Seattle versus the San Francisco 49ers, especially on the road. If it was in Seattle, maybe I have a little bit more confidence in that. But once those crowds get rolling behind a good defense, it's even harder to build some momentum there, especially if your right tackle loses hope and Nick Bosa's all over Geno Smith's back. And then also I'm out on the Bears receivers. Do not give me a single Bears receiver on any lineup that I'll be putting money on. I look in all their eyes and all I see is distrust. I will not be touching any of those guys.
When you see DJ Moore walk up the field, that tells you all you need to see.
I see a black hole of my dreams when I look in DJ Moore's eyes. I just see all my aspirations for winning go straight into a black hole is what I see. No touchy.
I do want to hop on your Falcons thing really quickly. I noticed this week that Drake London and Darnell Mooney, 6,700 for London. Darnell Mooney's at 6,600. Feels like those receivers are kind of starting to be, hopefully you can guess the right one this week kind of play. Seems like that, at least as far as salaries. So I'm kind of with you. I think right now it's kind of hard to trust where the ball's going for the Atlanta Falcons, if that makes sense. So
yeah, no, I get it. A lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting kind of thing I picked up this week is that Drake London, AI loves Drake London. He's the man. But it is interesting that Darnell Mooney seems to be catching him as far as the salary goes. So anyways, Cole, what you got no touchy this week?
My no touchy forever. Y'all can just skip this segment with me because I will have the same one every time because I just cannot play him. I've just had so much bad experience with him. Debo Samuel. I look in his eyes,
Don't
and
trust him.
I see a rider with a white horse, and death is coming with him. No, don't
Tombstone.
never.
I like
never
it.
pick.
Tombstone reference.
Never.
I love
I
it.
never will pick him again. So that's going to be my no touchy from the time that this podcast has started to the time that this podcast films its last one. Hopefully, it's a long way away. But Debo Samuel forever on the no touch list.
Yeah.
So that's just the one guy I'm sticking with. So we get in time, get our time in and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. My no touches for this week. I'm definitely going to go Jonathan Taylor here with Richardson coming back. I know that some of that rushing yard is going to go to AR. So I'm going no touchy at Jonathan Taylor. Is too high at 7,600 with that offense now, I feel like. And then second, no touchy, we kind of hit on a little bit. So I'm going Derrick Henry against the Steelers defense. I think the Steelers defense is pretty good, and that salary at 8,100 is the second highest for running backs behind Kamara. So it's a tough one for me to kind of get behind. So I'm out on those two running backs for this week. And Gabe, to echo you, I'm out on all Bears receivers.
Good. Safe play there.
So we'll move on to lineups. We'll move on to lineups this week. Check our TikTok channel later on in the week for the AI optimal lineups. We'll have those shot out so that everybody can take a peek and see if there's anybody they can trust with their eyes and draft somebody they like. So we'll see what happens there. But Cole, give us your starting lineup for Week 11. Also, by the way, before you get going, Cooper DeJean interception.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
No, actually, I don't think it was Cooper DeJean. I think it was the other.
It was another white guy.
White guy, Blankenship, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, what a recipe for disaster. Two of them starting in the back end. Anyways. Anyways, starting at quarterback this week, Aaron Rodgers. And then my running backs are Devon Achane and Kenneth Walker III. Wide receivers are going to be Jerry Jeudy.
Y'all are zagging hard. The Wagner brothers. Gabe's no touchy on Seattle. Cole's all in, baby. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a believer. I don't know why.
Saquon Barkley touchdown.
Okay, good. That helps me out in my showdown. But Jerry Jeudy, Puka Nacua, and Garrett Wilson are my three receivers. Tight end going Mark Andrews over Hawkinson. And then my flex is Keyshawn Boutte. I predicted this before Gabe made the pick because I knew I saw on the fantasy whatever website that is that we look at and everything else in our value that Boutte.
How are you gonna start this man after? How are you gonna what are we record for? Then you're gonna put him in your lineup is hilarious. That's rich, I'll tell you.
I do that. I do that because if you're right about it, then I could say I was right about it too. So why not? You were right about Scantling. Might as well. I mean, so you might as well be right about Boutte too, and I might as well get a slice of the pie.
You're riding my Boutte. You ain't riding my Boutte, son. What are you talking about? You ain't riding
and then for my defense, my dart game defense, my throw the dart at the wall and see if it can stick. I'm going Tennessee against Minnesota. Let's see if we can get lucky during this one.
All right. You'll get what you deserve on that one. I'm going Drake May, Travis Etienne, Brees Hall, Keyshawn Boutte, DeAndre Nuke Hopkins, Puka Nacua, Dawson Knox, Alvin Kamara, and then I'm going Bears defense against Green Bay. Bears defense is under the radar, having a really good season.
Yeah,
hoping for a couple turnovers there. I'll say this about Kamara. A lot of people, 8,200, real expensive. Like I said, I'm not picking him there I'm picking him there for the floor. Once I get those cheaper guys and there's some good matchups, he's got a really low floor with his pass catching ability. So I'm expecting a minimum of 14, 15 points, the lowest, which is fine with me.
That's good. Sweet.
What you got, Brad?
This week for me, mine's probably going to change when the Knox news breaks if he's a starter and Kincaid's out. But as of this moment, I've got Brock Purdy at 6,600. Random stat for you guys: he has 3 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games. So just a mental note for you guys. Kareem Hunt at 6,700. I've got Audric Estime at 4,500. I've got Sutton at 5,900. I'm thinking about going all Broncos, potentially changing my quarterback to Bo Nix and just going Broncos heavy, but that seems like mentally not smart. So I'm going to go George Pickens at 7,000, Keyshawn Boutte at 3,500, Travis Kelce at 6,300, which the reason you talk about a floor, we've seen bad weeks from Travis Kelce at the beginning of the season, but at this point, his targets are through the roof. He's not getting crazy yardage on catches, but he's getting tons of catches. So I like him at 6,300. I've got Devon Achane at 7,200, and then Cole, I'm with you. I'm throwing a dart at the Titans defense at 2,300 and see what happens. So that's kind of mine's probably going to change. So check the TikTok channel for an update there, because if Kincaid's out, I'm going to completely readjust because I like Knox at 3,500. But we'll update later in the week as we get to Sunday kickoffs. But check the TikTok channel because all of the AI lineups will be up there and all of our lineups will be up there as well. This is just kind of us flushing out thoughts as we get ready to gear up for the weekend. Gabe talked about that in our group message a little bit earlier. I'm still bitter at Najee Harris because the Philadelphia Eagles have rushed for 229 yards this week. So
yeah, that's very true.
It makes me sick.
Very good point.
Went for 50 last week. So anyways, again, it's the gut feel. Who can you trust? Look in their eyes. Who can you trust? Pull the trigger. Roll with it.
The eyes tell the story.
Eyes
tell you everything you need to know.
Hey, don't worry about research. Look in the eyes. That's how you decide week 11. Good luck, everybody.
The eyes speak to the heart. The eyes speak to the heart. That's what this.
Don't look at Jared Goff's eyes too long.
We out.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.